Welcome to another episode of Wonder Paws. I'm Dan,
And I'm Anita.
and we're travelling around Australia for a year with our dog and our cat. And we just quit our jobs 3 weeks ago now, and the rest is history. Or not.
It's definitely starting to feel less of a holiday and more of a lifestyle. Um, Today we wanted to talk about the Barossa and Clare Valley regions.
Yeah, so when we left Mount Gambier, we travelled through another wine region called Coonawarra. We're not going to cover it in a great deal of detail here because we just passed through. But one winery we did stop at is Wynns of Coonawarra. And the reason we stopped there is we are massive fans of the Wynns brand. We love all of their wines, in particular their Cab Sabs, and we just couldn't go past it. But as a bonus, completely pet friendly. So they allowed us to basically set up on their lawn. We had the dog and the cat as well, Wally and Paprika with us. So we were just enjoying some beautiful different wines from the region, whilst frolicking in the sunshine.
We will put a little video up on the screen now. You can see that the way that we was handled, they would let us go into the cellar door and bring our tastings outside, and we could sit in the picnic area outside.
Yeah, great little stopover. So when we got to Barossa Valley, we had this opinion that Barossa was actually one town, but it's not. It's actually made up of 4 to 5 main towns: Tanunda, Greenock, Nurutpa, and Asterton, and some surrounding communities as well. So when we refer to Barossa Valley, that's actually referring to those sort of 4 to 5 towns, and they're all pretty close to each other, generally within 10 minutes drive. So it's all very easy to get around, and they're all really nice historical towns with their own little charms.
My favorite being Tanunda. That was a really very cute little place with little wine bars and nice restaurants. So
As a
definitely on the top.
as a bonus, in Tanunda, they have showers, so it was
Yay!
a dollar for three
I've got a
minutes.
video here too of that.
And yeah, like when you're, especially we've been free camping and off grid pretty much the whole time since we left Melbourne and Ballarat. So it was nice to get another place where we can clean and
Yeah,
shave
even
and
if
all
it's
that
really
good
late at
stuff.
night.
Yeah, yeah. So the showers are open till 10 p.m. It's just a dollar for 3 minutes, and there's an information centre right there next door if you do need to get some change. So, in terms of where we actually stayed, we decided to base ourselves out of Greenock, and there was a couple of reasons for that. One, it was a free campsite, and it was at Greenock Centenary Park, which actually is run by the local community there. So it's a donation of, I think it was $5 or $10 per night, and it has some toilets and it has a potable water point as well, which is really important if you do need to top up. And you can basically set up all around the park, along the perimeter of the oval. And if you do have that, then you have river frontage, as we call it. Or you can set up a little bit
Park.
further back. Yeah, park. Or you can set up a little bit further back under the trees. But obviously, if you do that, you won't get as much rays hitting the solar. So if that's important to you, try and get the prime spot.
The best part about it being set up around the park, sorry, is for the dog. We could literally put him on the leash and just have him able to sort of like roam around a little bit, or sometimes even off the leash. And he was able to play on the park, and we could just literally be sitting on the deck under a little awning. So it was perfect, honestly. If
And
you've
not
got
too busy.
pets, yeah. And the cat was even, pretty happy there. There was a few dogs, so he wasn't willing to venture out of the caravan, but it was really nice.
Yeah. And right, like within walking distance of that park, there are a number of interesting places you can check out. So the historical the historical town of Greenock, from the 1800s. There's a really nice pub there called the Greenock Hotel. Definitely check that one out. It
Good
is also,
snitties.
yeah, good schnitties and pet friendly as well. And
There's also a brewery which we didn't make it to because it was
mm,
closed on the days that we were there, but they also have a pet friendly area and a place where you can actually cook, which is really cool. And Kaleski wines.
Kaleski wines,
Yep.
yep.
So if you don't want to venture too far, you can literally walk to a cellar door and do some wine tasting.
Yeah. So more sort of broadly around Barossa Valley, there are about 60 odd wineries. So it was quite difficult to choose, but we did try and focus on the ones that were pet friendly, and we were quite selective with our choices. So the first one we went to was near the town of Asterton. It's called Pepperjack slash Saltram. And similar to the Coonawarra brand, we absolutely love our Pepperjack Shiraz, so we decided to check it out. And yeah, we were greeted with very warm, open arms. We sat on a nice sun deck,
Hmm.
enjoyed a beautiful antipasti platter.
Oh my
Some
God, recommend the hummus and the antipasti platter. That was just, whew.
Yeah, and
Delish.
the bread and dukkha, you can't go past that.
Yeah, and it was a similar sort of setup to Coonawarra where I would go in and grab my tasting wines and bring them out to the outdoor area. So you can't actually sit inside the cellar door with the pets, of course. So we were outside in the sort of restaurant area.
So I think for about $60, we ended up getting a gigantic platter with heaps of
Oh,
cheese, heaps of
delish.
antipasti, meats, and different pickles, plus the dukkha, the bread, and the hummus. So yeah,
It was huge
very
and
good value.
delish. I think we might even have a photo of that.
Yeah, very good value, particularly like coming from Victoria where everything costs an arm and a leg. It was nice to
And the
save a few dollars
wines
there.
were bleh, delicious.
I think we actually got like 8 different wines to taste,
Yeah,
and
it was
it
eight.
was
It was like an AFL grand final, not grand final, but like an AFL tasting thing. So if you get to be in the region anytime soon, that is the one to go for. We loved it.
definitely hit that one up. So the second winery that we actually stumbled across by chance, we were just having a bit of a drive after we did a hike, and we'll talk about the hike in a moment. But it's called Chateau Yildara, and it's one of the first chateaus that was set up in the Barossa Valley region. And what is it, 1847 it was set up, so it's this
Beautiful
giant,
building.
yeah, giant historical building. We actually assumed that we would be able to just have the wine tasting outside, similar to the others, but they said, nope, absolutely, come on in, bring the dog in, give yourself a tour. So we were able to go
Amazing.
down into the cellars.
We've got a few different photos and videos if they pop up anytime soon. But yeah, we were able to actually take the dog physically into the wine tour, which was just so fun for us to share that moment with Wally. Paprika wasn't with us this day, but it was, yeah, it was absolutely stunning.
Yeah, and he got the gold treatment. I mean, he got to sit in that seat that you can see on the picture here. Got to go down into the cellar doors, into the winemaking area. It was quite a special experience. And kudos to the team there. Again, I think we had like 6 or 8 different tastings, and yes,
Oh, and the service was great. The recommendations were great. We actually used the recommendations for the next section when we were going into the Clare Valley, and it was all top notch. So definitely recommend for a start. Taking the dog into a wine tour gives you something to do, gives us
mm.
something to experience. We were able to take him everywhere. It was so easy, so much fun.
And I think the dog loved it just as
Oh,
much
he
as
loved
we
it.
did.
He was passed out half of the time.
And yeah, I think we even we the service was so good that they offered us a $150 bottle of Grenache for only $50, but the label was taken off. So
Oh, and we sipped on that for, a very special occasion in the future, which is, you'll hear about later.
certifiably the best Grenache I've ever had. So definitely hit it up, Chateau Yildara. You will not be disappointed. What else do we do? Cheese. Ah, who could go past the cheese? So, in the historical town of Asterton, there is the Barossa Valley Cheese Company.
And they're also pet friendly. I think did we have Paprika? No, just Wally
No,
again.
just Wally.
But yeah, it was absolutely awesome. I mean, it's pet friendly in the sense that we could sit outside in al fresco sort of dining area. They're very welcoming. There's dog bowls. Everyone came up to us. Literally every single person walking in the street wanted to see Wally and touch Wally. So it was a very nice little area. And
And the
the
cheese.
cheese, my gosh. I think we got a selection of dairy, goat's cheese,
Sheep,
sheep's
buffalo.
cheese, and buffalo cheese.
Mm,
So it was a really nice selection, and some of our faves were in that mix. I think we paired it with a Riesling from the Clare Valley, even, which was
yeah,
really nice.
yeah.
Um,
Wally kind of missed out on that one because, when you're doing paying for a bit of a cheese tour, you don't really want to give it to the
I think he got a
dog.
cracker. He
Yeah,
got a
you got a
cracker.
cracker. Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, definitely, a big region for foodies, so much to explore. I think we only scratched the
Oh,
surface,
there's so many
but
other places
yeah.
we were recommended, like Maggie Beers and a million other wineries. There's actually a list of wineries we were shown. So even if you go onto the Barossa Valley South Australia website, they have a dog-friendly list. So that includes tours, includes like eating out, wineries, and recreation. So like where they can play. So that's awesome. Thank you to the Barossa Valley for being so welcoming.
Yeah, fantastic. So, in terms of what else we did other than wine and cheese and beer and all that good stuff, so we did a couple of hikes. One was called Parawira, so it was in the region of Parawira. It was called the Phoenix Circuit, and it was part of the Lady Pierce hike. So, it's 5 kilometers through historic goldfield sites, about 20 minutes south of Greenock. And what was interesting about this region was it talked about the history of the first white settlers in the region and how they found gold, and yeah, it ended up being a massive gold rush, and yeah, sort of like rags to riches to rags again. So once the gold ran out, then so did everyone's luck, and everyone packed up and left. But there's still heaps of abandoned mine shafts there. It's a beautiful walk, bushwalk.
And they also had a lot of like the old heritage buildings there as well, the mine sites where you can actually have a look in to the shafts and stuff like that. So it's actually very cool. And not only that, aside from that, the actual nature was very beautiful there. It's a warm hike, so definitely bring some water. We're here in the cooler seasons and it was hot, so I can only imagine in summer how hot it gets here. So that was definitely a winner.
Yep, not too
Dog
steep,
friendly
and
again.
yeah, the dog loved it. Although it was starting to get a bit warm for his liking.
Yeah, so lots of water.
Yeah, and then on another day we did a hike that was, I guess we have mixed emotions about it. It was a bit, I wouldn't call it bittersweet, but it was really just exposing
The circle of life.
the circle of life.
So on that hike, I think it was called Barossa Steingarten Walk, and I guess it depends on the time of the year that you were there. We were there when lambs were being born. It's a 9 kilometer hike. It starts quite steep, and it kind of goes through various hills and whatnot. The main part of the hike is well marked, but you definitely need your all trails maps for this one, because as you're going around it kind of gets very confusing. So thank God we had our GPS with all trails and it was actually showing us where to go because someone has mapped it previously. Another little point to map your all trails if you can, because it will help the next person to come. Now, why it was bittersweet, we saw so many beautiful little lamb families. It was adorable, the first part of the hike.
Wally saw his first lambs. He didn't know what they were. It was like aliens.
It was funny. It was funny because he kind of looks like a sheep. So it was very cute to start with. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. We're having such a nice time. Next minute, we walk through this gate, and I don't know, this is like a bit of a warning for anyone who has a sore stomach and can't handle the life and death cycles, but there was a lot of dead lambs on this hike, like fresh baby lambs, all dead.
On the path.
On the path. It was hard to watch, hard to see. We even saw one sheep, giving birth to a lamb. That was another thing that we just definitely didn't expect to see on our hike. So there was beauty and terror, and yeah, it was a bit eeky and a bit like I literally am a bit of a softie. I shed a tear or two, and I just stood there for a little while and sort of like did like weird little prayers, like, oh my God, please look after the lambs, God. Like, I'm not that religious, but like I just did it because I just felt really, really emotional. So that was a bit of a warning. I did put a warning on my All Trails review for this time of the year. It's something that you might not want to see. But for us, we were able to, move through that and continue on our journey. And the rest of the walk was trauma-free.
It was pretty stunning,
but
actually.
It was a very beautiful walk. Yeah, you actually were able to walk through the vineyards. Like there was a section with the vineyards, and also, it's good for your cardio strength, I tell you.
Yeah, so you get really, really good vistas of the entire Barossa Valley region, so rolling hills, and because it's been so dry, everything looked a bit yellow and brown. Normally it's a little bit more green, apparently, but still like really, really nice and beautiful. Wally was off leash part of the time on leash, but obviously watch the snakes. This is very, very proper snake territory, particularly when the sun is shining. So we'll pop the link up to that hike if anyone is interested in the comments, in the description.
Yeah, and while we were here, we had a little bit of a history lesson. My family, the Moody's, apparently come from the region of Light. I think it's called the City of Light, which is including the Barossa Valley, Clare Valley, and a few other areas around there. And we found out that my great-great-great-grandparents were buried in the Kapunda cemetery. So
Kapunda or Kapunda?
That's Kapunda. So we thought, why won't we visit Kapunda? And anyway, so as I was reading about Kapunda, it was first introduced to us at the chateau. She was like, oh, your family's from Kapunda. Oh, that's a bit of an interesting place. You know that it's haunted, right? And we were like, no, we didn't know anything about it. She goes, oh yeah, we went there the other, a few nights ago in the cemetery, and we saw like a ghost and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. So then I started looking it up, and the region, like the area of Kapunda has a few ghost, sites. And it's funny because it's on those shows, like ghost hunting and all of those things. There's Kapunda Hotel and the Kapunda Cemetery. So we were making a bit of jokes while we were there that my family's probably haunting the town, but we did go and visit because you know what, like it's something about my history that I'd learned about them being, coming over from Ireland,
Mm.
and being part of the copper mining there, and then having their own farming and owning some properties called Lightbrook, and then moving on to Western Australia from there, which is really cool because I didn't know any of this history, and then when I looked into it, my great 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 grandfather was a politician for the area and had actually done a lot of good things for the area. So there was a lot of history on him. So I was able to read up about it. And finding out that there was a haunted site. We did feel a little bit eerie when we went to that cemetery. I don't know if it's psychosomatic because someone had already told us that it was supposed to be haunted. But there's a lot of unmarked graves there and it's a little bit of an icky feeling. So anyone who's like one of those ghost hunty people, it might be the town for you to visit.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not normally a big believer in, ghosts and hauntings and that sort of stuff. Like, I tend to take it with a grain of salt. And as we were walking through the Kapunda cemetery, firstly, walking through a cemetery on a holiday is a bit odd, but anyway, because your family was buried there, we made an exception.
We had a look.
So I was walking past, I was trying to find the oldest graves in the cemetery, and as I was walking past this particularly unmarked one, I actually got proper chills in my body. Like the hairs stood up on the ends. I got goosebumps, and the air felt really cold. And again, normally I'm not into that sort of stuff, but I could not deny the physical feelings that I felt at that stage. It didn't freak me out as such, but it was a little bit odd.
Yeah, like if you were there at night time, you might have had a little bit more of a freak out. But I
probably wouldn't go there at night.
We definitely noticed Wally's behavior was a little bit odd as well. Like he was being a bit sus. At one point, he just would not move and he was just staring off into the distance. We're like, oh, that's creepy. And I actually physically felt sick at one point. I was like, oh, I feel really unwell. So there's definitely a little bit of a vibe there. Again, if it's psychosomatic, we don't know, but it was still kind of cool and eerie and interesting. And the Kapunda Hotel is obviously one of the most, the most haunted pub in Australia. So they do ghost tours there. We didn't get a chance because we weren't there on the right day, but that is something to check out if you're one of those ghosty people that love to like have a little. I think you can even do a night, like a stay over.
Yeah, you can get locked in.
Saturdays
you can get locked in.
Because there's a lot of dark history in that hotel. So definitely that is something to check out if you're interested in that kind of thing.
Yeah. So if you want to see dead people, that's the place to go. What was that show? So last but not least, in Kapunda, there is a bakery.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say that. I was like, oh no, don't forget about the bakery.
Yeah, there's a bakery called Little Mo's Bakery and Cafe, and it's famous for its Cornish pasties. Yes. Pasties or pasties? Pasties, yeah.
And you can't call it a Cornish pasty, we found out, unless it's actually the exact recipe of the Cornish pasty. So it has to be from Ireland, Cornwall, the exact recipe. And I was making a joke that my family, my great 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 grandmother, came from Cornwall, and I was like, it's probably her recipe, like it's her recipe. So it's really cool if you want to try it. It's you've got the mining history behind it as well.
Yeah, so it was very popular with the miners. So they mined, I think it was iron ore in the town, and what the miners would do is they'd get this pasty, and the pasty would have this ridge along the perimeter, and they would hold the pasty by the ridge, and the ridge is basically like a crust. So they would never eat the crust because their fingers would be so grubby and dirty from all the ore. So they would basically just eat everything except for the crust and then discard the crust. And that way they didn't need plates and they could eat it underground, and Bob's your uncle. But yeah, quite nice.
So it's a traditional pasty because it's named Cornish pasty. So it's definitely worth a little check. It was at Little Mo's Bakery and Cafe.
And that's dog friendly as well. So again, we didn't have Paprika with us that day. He decided to have a bit of a rest. But Wally certainly enjoyed that crust of the pasty.
Yummy.
So, basically after that, we spent, 4 or 5 days in the Barossa Valley, and we decided to move on a little bit further north because it was getting quite cold, and we're just trying to chase the sun a little bit. So we passed through the Clare Valley region, and that's only about an hour north of the Barossa Valley. Very easy drive. Unfortunately, it was raining quite heavily that day, so as you can see in the video I've just posted, Anita tried to do a bit of sightseeing, and you ended up being a bit of a soggy mess after.
That was me trying to visit the Seven Hills Cathedral or church. I thought it would be nice to go sightsee and have a little look because it was a really beautiful building, as you can see. But that didn't work out so well. But the one thing that was quite funny is we also took Paprika on this journey. So Paprika, as you might see when we decided to stop for lunch, he was also not a fan of the rain. So We were
Surprise.
So we did stop by Riley's Wines and Cellar Door, and I'm not gonna lie, the what was the standouts for us? There was the tawny, which we actually went home. And we are not usually a fortified people, but this tawny,
Yeah, it's pretty
oh
next
my
level.
God, $40 bottle, the best $40 I've spent on booze in a long time. Like it was so nice.
And of course, Clare Valley is known for its Riesling.
Yeah.
So the Rieslings were
All
pretty
of the
top
wines were
notch.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the wines were nice, but we were just really blown away by that tawny.
Yeah, so definitely check out Riley's. It is dog friendly, but in this case, we actually left Wally in the caravan because
It was raining.
yeah, it was
really
raining and
bad.
we had to sit outside and it was just
Yeah.
too hard basket. So
Yeah,
that was a
absolutely.
quick in and out. But another standout in the Clare Valley is Mr. Mix. So we actually stopped there for lunch and we brought Paprika in with us. You can see a photo of us walking in there. And the staff was so excited to see a cat because they typically only ever see dogs in there. There was one rabbit once, but there's never been a cat.
Yeah, so he got a photo taken of him, and the funny thing is one of the staff members is like a crazy cat lady. So she was doting over him. He wasn't so happy about the situation, but the best part is they also put like, so obviously we had to be outside because we were eating food and doing wine tastings and stuff. So they actually put a wood fire on for us. They got the gas heater over for us, so they made us so comfortable. The staff there, they were knockouts.
Amazing.
Like I think 4 or so different people came up to talk to us, and it was really nice to exchange stories. And let's talk about the wine.
Yeah, so we did a flight of 6 different wines, and what we particularly loved about this particular establishment was the unique varieties. So there was things like Viognier, there was other varieties that
Vernamento or something.
I don't know.
It wasn't Viognier. It was something else.
Vi-
But there was
Vilvovo
like
something.
there was a couple of Italian wines.
Fiano, yeah, there's a Fiano. Oh.
V something. But
You can
like,
see how big of wine experts we are around
yeah,
here.
look, we can actually look them up and let you, like write it down in the comments if we can remember which wines they were. But there was also their famous rosé, which tastes like strawberries and cream. And literally, the aftertaste is like a strawberry and cream, like the little lollies, like the little white and pink lollies that you used to eat from Allen's.
Yeah, so definitely highly recommended. The lunch menu was really, really nice as well. We had a range of different share platters, so it's a bit of an
It's a
antipasti,
tapas place,
sorry,
yeah.
tapas sort of place. And yeah, super pet friendly. Make sure you check it out. So that's probably another wrap. We'll check in again with you when we're in the Flinders Ranges, which is a totally different vibe. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button for more updates and good stuff, and let us know what you think in the comments. We'd be really interested to hear.
We need to learn from you what we could, do better, and hopefully what we're doing well.
And I think next time we speak to you, I might actually have this microphone situation sorted finally. So we'll go
Hopefully.
outside, show you where we're at in terms of scenery. Bye.
Bye.